Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and today it's going to be slightly different where I talk about things that are a little bit more personal, and it's really about my top 3 biggest mistakes when I was in my 20s. So I'm 43 now, so I think all of us, we all look back when you're in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s. So I thought I'd do a video that could potentially relate to some of you out there watching the video. And these are my top 3 in Singapore in my 20s. I also just want to try this autofocus with the latest firmware revision. So I'm on face detection now on a GH5. Oh my god, did they really solve the autofocus problems? Anyway, number 1. And this is a huge problem for, I think, a lot of guys in Singapore. In my 20s, my biggest thing was actually cars. And I think anyone in your 20s in Singapore, especially if you're a guy, if you're a petrol head like me, you'll be crazy about cars. Now, in case if you're not aware, and if you don't live in Singapore, cars just happen to be crazy expensive. So now, don't get me wrong, I was very hardworking. I worked my ass off. I made decent money, and the number 1 thing that I would splurge on, and it was like literally the dumbest thing I would do, is to really just buy cars. The biggest investment obviously was Mitsubishi Evolution 9 RS. Flash the picture. It was an RS, basically means racing spec, so it's a stripped down version of the Evo 9. I had to deal with the inconveniences of manual windows, but it was okay because I know that at least the car can do without all unnecessary electronic parts. So I had like a fuel regulator installed in the trunk. I had a lot of I had one of the biggest turbos at the time. If you're familiar, I was running a HKS 3037. Now guys, this is not a flex. I just want to take you through the some of the biggest mistake that I made when I was in my 20s. So anyway, yes, it was an experience, but look, you can totally do without splurging on a silly car. And in any case, yeah, so I spent a lot of money on the Mitsubishi Evo 9. It was fast, you can you look kind of cool, or maybe you think you look kind of cool, it was like, oh wow, check out the Evo. It was ferociously loud, it had an external wastegate. Okay, you know what, I'm just reminiscing, but look, it still remains the biggest mistake in my 20s. So if you're 29 and you're thinking about buying a car, don't do it. Alright? Buy a small car, it gets you to point A to point B. It's very strict in Singapore, there's nowhere you can speed, and you run the risk of getting an accident. Alright? That's my number 1 thing. What's my number 2 thing? It's still very, very popular here in Singapore. I was hanging out with a lot of my friends at these places called flower joints. Okay, so what exactly are flower joints? So flower joints are basically pubs that you visit, and you've got a stage, you've got a bunch of girls from all over the world. Predominantly, obviously, you have your Thai, Vietnamese girls. They go there, they come around the tables, they drink with you, they make you feel really, really good, and then they go out for some performances, and then you start to hang sashes around them. Back when I was still hanging out there in my 20s, prices would start at $10, $50, $100, and that was quite significant. You normally hang a bunch of them on your favorite girl, but now I see the denominations running anywhere from like, I don't even think they have $10 sashes anymore. It's like they start at 50 bucks. Apparently you have sashes that are like 10 grand, 15 grand. But yeah, anyway, when I was in my 20s, I would be there 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. It was enjoyable. It was fun. Again, you know, the experience was quite an experience. But yeah, I mean, if I had friends asking me to go every day, I think I would have gone. So we were opening whiskey bottles like almost every other day. We'll be broke as hell, but you know what? Hey, you can look good. You know, the girls will make you feel good, and then you can show off. It was the number 2 biggest mistake because of all the money that you spend. You have no control over what you do, because hey, you know, you're feeling good, you know, you got booze in your system, you got alcohol in your system, you got all these people hanging around you, make you feel really, really good. But you know, you wake up next day feeling hungover, looking at your wallet, and you regret, and then you go again in the very same day. And that's just how it is, you know. There's always, no matter how grown up guys are, you know, there's still a little boy inside. This is why I say guys are generally quite stupid. Yeah, guys are just dumb. Anyway, yeah, that is my number 2 biggest mistake I made in my 20s. Now, on to number 3, and number 3 has a lot to do with number 1 and number 2, because my number 3 biggest mistake was not saving enough money. You know, sure, you look good with your fancy Evo, sure, you look good, you know, going to all these flower joints, hanging flower, opening bottles of drinks, but damn, man, you know, if you have no meaningful amount of savings to perhaps start a business, then what is the point? You know, when you find someone that you're finally able to settle down with, you know, you don't have enough money for a down payment on a property, that's gonna be a huge problem. And that, you know, if I could turn back time, I would definitely have avoided all 3, and I could be much better off, I assume. But those are the 3 biggest mistakes I made in my 20s, and I hope that for anyone watching the video, and if you're in your 20s now, in your late teens, that you don't ever make these same mistakes, because I think it's extremely unnecessary, and I think you'll be much better off. Now, I know how it is, you know, sometimes even after you hear someone, I'm 43 now, if you hear someone older than you, you'd be like, oh man, come on, this guy's just talking shit, man. I need to do it myself, you know, I need to know how it feels. You know what? Go experience it for yourself, but don't go too deep. That's all I can say. It's tough weaning yourself off a lifestyle like that. But hey, if your family's got money, if mommy and daddy is gonna be giving you money and you don't really care, that's your prerogative, it's not mine. But all I'm saying is that if I can avoid these mistakes in my 20s, I would have. So let me know what you think about today's video. If you would like to hear more such videos where I talk a little bit more about my personal stuff in Singapore, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.